Well, I see you got a Topo Chico over there.
Yes.
Are they back as a sponsor?
They're back as a sponsor.
This is our first repeat sponsor.
No, that may be accurate. Yeah.
All right, episode 1 and episode 20, whatever this one ends up being.
Yeah, whenever we release it.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's exciting.
It's very exciting. Yeah, they finally got back in stock after they sold pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Right after our.
Yeah, they're finally back in stock, and that's why we got some.
Yeah.
8 months later or whatever.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back to Topo Chico, and welcome to you to the Video Reformation Podcast. I'm Ben.
I'm Justin.
We're the co-founders of Storyboard Media and your guides to practicing effective video for business. We're like a guide on a journey to practicing effective video for business because I don't have an analogy this week.
We are throwing it all together this morning to make it happen.
So for our audience and maybe a little point of reference here, we're a little bit rushed today because this day of recording is the day that our stay-at-home effect or our stay-at-home order goes into effect. So we are rushing to get as much done here in the office as we can that needs to happen between now and April 30th. So
we're recording 16 podcasts today.
Yes, we're doing all the podcasts today, and we're even going to try a few with a guest, just to, up the difficulty value a little bit.
Yeah. I think it's a time, like, the way it's all coming together. I mean, the topic of... Were you about to jump into...
Go ahead.
I mean, the topic today is how video is going to play a role, a huge role in commerce moving forward.
Yes.
People are just starting to scratch the surface of how they use video. Forget coronavirus. And now that's out. Everyone's going home. Everyone's disconnected.
And everyone's being forced to use video to some extent.
Right.
That's why I've titled this episode Video in the Time of Corona. Mm-hmm. Like Love in the Time of Cholera.
No?
No. All right. Well, for those of you listeners who get that reference, DM me. Okay, we've also got a guest today.
We have. I'm really excited about this.
So am I.
He's a good friend of ours, Ryan Carey.
Yeah.
Ryan actually has one of his offices just down the street here in Durham, another one in New York. I'm going to let him tell you a little bit more about himself, but he runs BetterOn. BetterOn is a company that helps, it basically coaches people to be better on camera.
I get it.
And so as everything is shifting towards a video world, Ryan's going to help us apply some new. I don't know. I'm going to let him tell us what he's going to do.
Yeah.
Ryan, tell us a little background. You kind of got your start in video at YouTube, and since then have done a whole bunch of amazing things. Give us a little rundown of Ryan Carey.
Absolutely. Very happy to. Well, it all began when I was born. And then the next, and I'm kidding.
No, go on.
No, we have time. So I've been in the video world, you could say, for around 15 years. And the only reason I say that is that dawned on me the other day, and I was like, wow, that's kind of interesting. Like, I wonder what I've been doing that whole time. So I think about this often. Long story kind of short, I was in the right place at the right time, and I jumped on to the YouTube team when they were just starting out in 2006. So I was living in San Francisco, and I was working in digital, working for AOL, and all of a sudden this YouTube thing shows up, and I get a link in my email, and I'm like, oh, not only is this cool, this is probably the future. So I kind of found my way to a hiring manager and banged down his door and said, I'll sweep the floors if I have to. Let me join your team, please. So I did, and I was on I was helping monetize YouTube before they knew how they were going to monetize the site. Mm-hmm. 3 months later, Google bought us, and everything changed. And
it was pre-Google.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow. So it was pre-Google. So, and at the time, I didn't know what an acquisition was. I was just kind of like happy to be there. I always had a thing with video, and I think as my later career pans out, I was always a bit of a closet entertainer. And after 6 years at Google, sort of doing video strategy for businesses of all shapes and sizes, I kind of followed my I don't know, my heart, my passion, my calling. Really what it was is that I saw all these people out there in the world making cool stuff. And I kind of thought, this is where it's at. And the corporate life is cool in, lots of safe, secure, and comfortable ways, but I just kind of thought there's something more to be done out there. So I left YouTube and I started my own web series because I wanted to get my hands dirty and really understand, what does it take to do all this stuff that people watch? One interesting stat that I like to tell people is that when I started at YouTube, there was this 9-to-1 ratio. Only 1 out of every 10 users on YouTube had ever uploaded a video. So you could call them creators if you wanted to, but oftentimes that was like 1 video per account that would never be touched again. But it just kind of showed that there was this imbalance between this population of people who wanted to create and wanted to put stuff out there while the rest of us just kind of sat back and watched. I made a web series. It was awesome. I ran around San Francisco. I was crowdsourcing ideas. I was recording individual personalized episodes of me living my life to do nice things that people asked me to do. Like basically people would live vicariously through the videos I made for them. We took my name, Ryan Carey, and called it Ricariously. And if I recorded someone's, thank you. It's one of my more crowning personal branding achievements. It became a philanthropic effort where I was really just focused on one audience member, and if I made them their own personal episode, they donated to a cause. So it was kind of like this personalized thing. Yeah. And then in there came this new idea, which is kind of where we are now. I wasn't making any money off of this creative endeavor, and the bank account was running low. So I kind of thought, I know enough about video to be dangerous in this market. And I had kind of, because of YouTube, gotten to take a little bit of a glance into the future and see where I thought things might be going. And what dawned on me was that, the word authenticity now is pretty overused, and it was getting overused back then. But one thing that was true to me, when you look at, what kind of video works? Like, not all video is going to quote unquote work for a business or a person. And, kind of no surprise, but authentic video and authenticity works. So I was always trying to get businesses to leverage their authenticity. And, it's kind of like, what does that even mean? Well, to me, I would see all these companies brag about how great their people are. And I kind of thought to myself, if your people are so great and your culture is what really makes your business tick, why would you not take that core of authenticity and save yourself a lot of money and just put them in front of a camera and let them tell your story and let them touch the hearts of your audience? And kind of inside of that, I realized that no one was doing that because nobody wanted to be on camera. And that's kind of what I wanted to try and solve for. So I started putting people in front of the camera, being like, I'm going to start to train you to be better on video. And that was 7 years ago. And kind of to like wrap up this long-winded intro, to me, BetterOn began as on-camera communications training. That was the original idea, and it still is that. But what it has evolved into, because of what I've kind of learned through doing this, is that it's really accelerated self-awareness training for people. Because YouTube's tagline, I thought about this the other day. This is a fresh one. YouTube's tagline is broadcast yourself. We've all probably seen it. I remember back in the day, it was like, oh yeah, that makes so much sense, broadcast yourself. But as I get a little bit nerdier and I go deeper on how do we get people themselves to want to broadcast themselves anywhere for any purpose? What I've realized is that before you can broadcast yourself to the world or to your audience, you've got to broadcast yourself to yourself. So there's a lot of kind of personal exploration there that the camera provides. So I've kind of gone from this yeah, let's help people make authentic video for, the external video market. And what it's become is just helping people see who they truly are.
Yeah. It goes much deeper than just being better at making videos. There's a whole self-exploration going on. I've seen, like, you post videos on LinkedIn and stuff of people's first take, and then after a 1 hour session, their final take of the day. And it's amazing the transformation, the confidence they bring, the way that they compose themselves on screen. It's quite amazing. You guys do really good work. Thank you.
I don't want to simplify it too much because there are a lot of pieces to the puzzle, but from the client side, it always takes courage because standing in front of a camera and lights and an intimidating set and someone you don't know too well can be very vulnerable. But people who step into that, I really admire them. And then from there, the philosophy is just kind of like exposure therapy. Like 9 out of 10 people, if you were to just stand in front of a camera and lights and just expose yourself to that vulnerability, after about 30 minutes, you're gonna calm down and you're gonna be willing to try different things. So that's what that's one way that I just sort of try to start with people.
We had a prior project manager who, 2 weeks in, we finally had her do her bio video for our website. And she was so genuinely uncomfortable, and uncomfortable doesn't even begin to touch it. She panicked.
Physically reacting.
Once we put her on the mark, she started sweating and she couldn't stop laughing, and then she was laughing so hard she started tearing up, but she might have just actually been crying. She was trying to have fun with it.
Yeah.
But then we just made that her bio video.
That was an authentic representation of her.
It was hugely authentic. It gave you a sense, but then of course, and I don't recall that it was directly related to this, but we made part of her job as our project manager be to send one-to-one videos to all of our clients every week to give them weekly updates. So instead of just sending out an email, we forced, and you can watch her even without any direct training. We gave her some pointers early on, but once she started to own it, one of the most interesting parts was she was working remotely, and once she got her home office accent wall painted, her demeanor on camera changed so much.
She loved it.
She hired a really talented friend to do this very artistic kind of thing on a wall, and so that was what was behind her when she shot these videos. And we could go back and watch them now because we've still got them all.
I just deleted her account yesterday.
Okay, well, we could have. Never delete anything without an archive, right? And you can see her get better over the course, and it's some of it is exposure, some of it is self-discovery, some of it is as silly as having a nice background, but but she became she was just able to exude herself through that, and now that I hear you talk about it, I'm just reminded of her journey through that. It wasn't deliberate, it's just kind of how she settled into it.
We've all been on the journey too. We've just pretended like it was normal because we're a video company. So we had to pretend like this is just part of our job. Yeah. But Ben and I have had various series that we've, shows or whatever that we've put up online. I remember the first time you were taking shots to try and calm yourself or slamming caffeine. You couldn't figure it out. Now you're just cool as a cucumber.
Well, you know me.
Yeah.
It's all the prescribed medications I'm taking now. That's
still drugged up.
You guys bring up something that I think is super relevant here, is that you're a video company, I'm a video company. And as we go into the future, there are so many different kinds of video companies. And YouTube is a video company. And the same thing applied there, is that one would assume that, these guys quote unquote work in video, so they must know how to do this. They must know how to be effective or be authentic or be themselves when the camera starts rolling. And the answer is, no. The answer is that, that's a separate muscle and skill that really isn't being taught yet. And I would tell anybody listening who's like, oh man, yeah, I should, my company should look into this. My team should do this. I would tell them, don't hire BetterOn. Do what you just said that you guys did to your former employee. Like you can do it. You can do a DIY. It's just like you have to build in the time and the commitment and sort of like muscle your way through that inevitable awkwardness. And, I would hope that, like you're saying, when she was done, like when she left, she was a little bit more confident overall, not just on camera, but just like in her life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Definitely.
Yeah, there could be a really interesting case study in that.
And with the ubiquity of cameras and this all, I guess just cameras. Yeah, a lot of people know how to use cameras pretty well, but being on a different side of the camera, it's a whole different game. And you, like you said, you either muscle your way through it, or you get like a little bit of a, I don't want to call it a cheat or whatever, but you work with people like you at BetterOn who can get you there faster. And for some people, they don't have the luxury of muscling their way through it and looking ridiculous sometimes because they're a COO, right?
Right.
And they've got to present themselves, whether it's on stage, whether it's on camera, whether it's just in a boardroom to their board of directors. They've got to do it well. Chances are, if you got that position, you probably had some of that those huevos, but
right.
I've heard huevos. It's a good term that you can use either sex, because it technically means eggs, but they also
Yeah.
So
They also what now?
they also yeah.
That's how you carry eggs? Okay. All right. But so I imagine anyone who's listening or watching this who is one of those more timid types, their first argument may be, well, why do I even need to be on video anyway? Why do I need to show myself? But there's this element of like a personal conversation, right? Like a one-on-one. There's so many opportunities, and Ryan, with a lot of the things that I see you post, it's about one person engaging with a camera, right? But whether we're talking about like, a Go video or Loom or whatever, where it's kind of that like you record something, you're looking into the camera and you're sending it to like one person, that one-to-one.
But a one-way.
But it's a one-way, one-to-one. Or whether you're on like, a live Zoom conference with a whole bunch of people, you're still kind of treating that lens as like the proxy for the eyeballs in the room.
Yeah.
But what is it about video that gives us that additional level of that like that intimate, personal, face-to-face communication reaction? Because I think there's something in there that is so valuable. I don't have an answer for it. I'm not. This isn't one of those where I'm kind of setting it up to, for you to say something and then you ask me and then I have my planned answer. But like there's something that's elevated with video communication that's as close as you can get to being in person.
You're right.
And so I'm going back to my original point. I feel like, somebody said, well, why do I even need to do that? Let's explore a little bit that added benefit, that added level of intimacy, connection, authenticity. Do you have any thoughts on that, Justin?
No, maybe we'll discover it on our journey here through the podcast.
Ryan, I imagine you have some thoughts about that.
I do have a couple ideas, just having tried to really study this over the years, and especially now with this moment we're in and the timeliness of our conversation and the fact that everybody all of a sudden is on video, which I also want to point out, on video and on camera, to me, are two completely different planets. And there needs to be work done on both planets. And we can come back to that, and I guess we probably should come back to that. But to talk about kind of like, why and what, why do I need to be on video? I don't think it is about that. My sort of philosophy is that two other totally separate planets that we're learning now is two-way video and one-way video. And that would, if you've worked in the video space, that makes more sense. But if you're kind of new to it and just like trying to, play with it, it's like, well, I don't know, like a camera's a camera. So my thought is that, two-way video is a Zoom call. It's Google Hangout. One-way is like you guys are saying. You record yourself on Loom, you record yourself, you put it on YouTube. It's two different muscles because when you're on a two-way call, there's someone there. Like us right now, this is a two-way call. But I will point out that I'm actually recording myself with you guys, not with me. So I'm exercising the muscle that I've learned over the years by talking one way and imagining you here.
Sure.
So anyway, what it comes down to and what I really like to tap people on is it all starts with one way. I think one-way video leads to effectiveness in two-way video, and it's not the other way around. Like the core muscle to build.
Say that again.
I think that the core muscle to be built lives on the one-way video side, and that will translate to a two-way video.
Yep.
Versus, if I sit on Zoom calls all day and I turn on the camera to make a YouTube video, I'm not going to be any more effective probably. Whereas if I'm doing it one way, I'm getting practice, imagining my audience, really trying to, because that's what it's all about. Like part of the muscle you're building here is that imagination. So what I like to tell people oftentimes is like my process is you get on camera, you practice one way, people fumble through it, they feel super awkward, they get really nervous, they watch themselves, they talk to me about it, they talk to one of our coaches about it. It's pretty vulnerable stuff. And then I break the hard news to them and I tell them, stop making it about you. This is not about you. This is about them. This is about your audience. And this is about giving. And it's about giving your gifts, giving your energy, giving who you are to the camera. And when people can make that shift, that's when the doors open. And they're like, oh, no one's even watched. No one even cares. Like people's attention spans are so short. No one's watching me. Like I've got to bring my A game of being on camera to really grab someone. And with that comes this, like they begin to open a part of themselves that they never used before. And it's usually kind of beautiful because that's when they kind of turn on and they're like, oh, this isn't as scary as I ever thought it would be. This is awesome. So when people say, well, why do I need to do video? It's like, you don't have to do video, but you should invest the time to kind of do the personal development that I'm talking about. Because we've been living in such a disconnected world for so long because of technology. One of the things that I've been trying to focus on for this many years is like video is what we have at our disposal to bring people back in touch instead of becoming so inside of themselves. So kind of one of my goals here is to bring people out again and record it and show it to them.
Yeah, I bet that's pretty rewarding seeing, in a 1 hour session with you, seeing somebody change that much. I mean, they're when they walk out those doors, I'm sure their shoulders are back, their chin is up, they're just a slightly different person. And getting to watch that transformation, it's a different world than ours, where we go into a studio and we tell an actor that she sucks. And I'm just joking. We don't.
Yeah, that's how you do it.
Stop fucking up.
Producer, director.
No, but getting to work with a real, like a fresh, green, young, or like inexperienced person, and seeing that dramatic transformation. So,
I feel like so many of Ryan's points give me so much more ammo for one of my rants about about staying away from using employee non-actor people, right? But what it gives me is a division in that thought between like confident and prepared employees.
Yeah.
And just we can put like our marketing director on camera because or our PR director because she's used to talking or whatever. Yeah. And so, to me it was just always this kind of binary decision. I think we've discussed it in like places to that people think they can save money. Oh, we don't have to pay an actor for a day. We can just bring in one of our employees. And then it ends up taking twice as long to shoot. You don't get as good a performance, whatever. But now there's this third option of, like BetterOn certified employees, kind of like camera-ready employees.
Yeah.
That's a totally different conversation. I would have to have with a client between that and an actor, depending on what the situation was.
And knowing that you have someone who is prepared to be on camera can dramatically shift the way that an agency like us would work with that company.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. We may not do scripted stuff as much, or especially not hire actors. We can get a lot more out of the resources that are already there, should that person be BetterOn certified.
Yeah, and an actor is someone that you hire once for the 1 or 2 shoot days. If you've invested in training some of your key employees, you've got them there every day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not trying to sell your service for you here. I mean, I'm just talking like from our perspective. If we had a client who had a couple people who'd been through your training or a training like yours, yeah, I would approach the content we could make with them at scale, which is something we've talked about recently. I would treat that very differently than, if I thought I had to bring in an actor every time.
Yeah.
And guys, I would almost argue that by doing that, it would empower companies like you to create potentially like a whole new genre of video, a whole new micro genre. Because, there is no script, there is no acting. It's kind of turning traditional production on its head. Mm-hmm. And, an actor doesn't give a shit about the product. They don't give a shit about the culture. Like, they're actors. Like, they're, that's what they're getting
the product,
paid for.
Yeah, that company might be selling.
Like, if you have someone who is, I don't know. I mean, I think that, trust me, I've thought about this forever. I could talk about this for years, but yes, it could totally change the game of what kind of content you could create and what kind of metrics you could reach people with. And I think
what do you mean by that?
So, in terms of what metrics might shift, like I'm not saying we need to, reinvent the view. However, I would like to, that's a whole other conversation. What's the value of a view anyway? But, I think that you might see a change in, audience development and who feels more drawn to the video strategy that a company's rolling out with this kind of content. Because I think that to me, digital video has followed the model of video production. It's just been this easy inheritance of like, well, here's how it's been done, and we're just going to keep it going this way. And all the metrics and the formats and what we see now kind of follow that. But if you drew a hard line and said, okay, we're going to stop a bunch of this shit now, and we're going to open it up to, I'm saying, I like to call it non-actor, people-facing camera content, whatever we can come away with that.
We can do better.
Yeah, right. Yes. You guys. Yes. Next episode, we can roll that out.
We'll polish a name for that. Yeah, we love coming up with names for things.
I just think that if you give, if we take what I'm saying about developing a human, an employee, whoever, to become better on video, which can mean a lot of different things, and part of that is a more confident human. If you give them the power and the permission to reach out through a camera and connect to whoever that intended audience might be, the way that they do it would be so unique and so natural and so unscripted and so untraditional, call to action. I think that they could really develop a new level of connection through video that we haven't seen yet within the business realm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which employees? Think about them maybe. I guess however you want to, but I'm thinking about them from a department, right? There's marketing, there's HR, there's customer success, sales, account management, all that stuff. Who has the most to gain from being better on camera?
What I
If it doesn't break down that way, that's fine. That's just kind of the way I like to think about it. But
well, in my experience of doing this for a couple years, it breaks down in a way I didn't expect, which is why I'm so excited about the future. So I would have expected, sales to be like, yeah, we're a bunch of extroverts. We're a bunch of people. We make more money by making connections. Give me that camera, make me BetterOn, like make this happen.
yeah.
And as I've gone from less, like this is all about output of video and it's more about personal development, I found that a lot of engineering clients tend to grow the fastest because they're the most unsuspecting. And really what we've become and what we've been focusing on for the past year is a lot of leadership development. And what that means is it doesn't matter what department you're in, it doesn't matter what industry you're in, that the kind of people who are willing to sort of show up and shed their armor and be who they are and practice doing that work in front of a camera are true leaders. And, they may not have the title to match. They may just be this, kind of person who's like, I want to connect and I see the value here. So over the past year, we've had a lot of leadership development programs be like, we need to build BetterOn into what we consider our leaders to actually be, because it builds this self-awareness, it builds this confidence. Now, at the same time, if I can someday, spin off a couple different branches of BetterOn, I'm gonna develop some sort of like talent agency of the future where we go into companies and we say, hey, I don't care who's the most senior, who's the most junior. I don't care what someone's title says. I want the people who have the it factor and who know they want to build that it factor. And we explain what this new it factor is and we put them through the ringer and they come out and they're like, all right, I'm ready. Let's do this.
In this new world that we're starting to just barely walk through the doors of, that's going to be
abandon all hope, ye who enter here.
That's going to be like with video being a primary means of communication. Those employees are going to excel that much faster because they're able to present themselves, bring their authenticity, be themselves, but show that leadership through the one way that they have, which is video.
And that to me is go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, what we're kind of circling here is this is a very marketable skill. This is a very powerful soft skill, and I think that one of the reasons that it's to me a little bit slow to come to the market and be valued is that the value of a skill is determined by hiring managers, by senior leadership. And, senior leadership is still in that older realm who didn't grow up in this digital age. They're still kind of above that bar, you could say. And I don't have 40 or 50-year-old people banging down my door to get vulnerable on camera. Like they are more than happy to stay in their comfort zone with what they've known.
And it's worked for them.
And it's worked for them. So I think, as we sort of inject this value and what we're talking about into the market, you're gonna see people be like, oh man, give me some talent that can do that because I know how to use it. And the current leadership doesn't know how to use it because they're not speaking video fluently. enough.
Well, and that's what I see about what's happening in our economy right now, right? I mean, in our workplaces, is all of a sudden everybody is forced to be on Zoom calls, right? Everybody is forced to stay at home and continue to do their job. For the ones that are lucky enough to have jobs where they can work from home, right?
Yeah.
They're having to figure out how to communicate with people that they're used to sitting across the cubicle from.
Yeah.
Right? And to me, this reminds me, maybe to date myself a little bit, but this moment reminds me, for video, reminds me so much of gas prices in the early 2000s. Gas prices like my whole life, I remember gas station prices, like all of the signage was like a painted on 1 and a decimal. And then they would swap out 89 cents, 67 cents, right? And then I think it was probably Hurricane Katrina that triggered it. But all of a sudden you started seeing billboards at gas station signs like turning the 1s into 2s. Because all of a sudden gas was over $2 a gallon. We haven't gone back. Like the market realized that it could bear, $2 plus a gallon. And we haven't gone back to $1 a gallon.
Right now.
Sure. Thanks for supporting my point. But there was, I think a lot of people thought, oh, okay, well, there was a natural disaster. This is temporary. And just now for the last 15 plus years, gas has been in the $2 and $3 range. Yeah. I feel very much the same way that in a lot of aspects that the remote working is like people being forced to remote work is going to fundamentally change how we work once we get out of this. And I think you're going to see it's all of the people, Ryan, like you were talking about, the 40, 50-year-old executives who haven't had to do this, who've maybe been putting off video programs, putting off remote working programs because they don't know how it works for them. Now they're finding out. And once everybody has to do it, like now we've all done it for the first time. And everybody's kind of figured out how this works. Why do we think it's going to go back to the way it was? For us, and we've discussed this, I think this is the end of like local only sales and customer relationships. I think companies are going to learn that whether somebody's sitting across their conference table from them or on their video chat in their conference room or their living room or whatever, it doesn't make any difference.
You have to accept that that's the reality now, and that's people are going to just start to follow. Like I think they're just going to start to do that.
They're just now the Band-Aid has been forced off of them, and they're used to doing it. And so I think a lot of I think about it from our perspective. We have always struggled with do we go after local companies, companies around the country, whatever. And we have found that whether they're local or remote, we end up communicating with them the same time all the time anyway, through a lot of video conferences and weekly, Go video updates and things like that. So it really doesn't matter whether they're 3 blocks away or in San Francisco. And I think that's what everybody else is realizing right now. And so I think that goes into salespeople too. Right? And people who have to buy things from salespeople. You don't have to have somebody come into your store and shake your hand and give you a business card anymore. Because we're not allowed to do that right now. And my guess is we don't go back to the way things are. Now that the Band-Aid's off, we keep going more that direction.
Sure. It's like when a river just starts to find a new path and just diverts completely.
Yep.
The other side dries up.
I have a question for both of you to sort of ponder.
No, thanks.
Do you guys...
I'm just joking. Go ahead.
What do you guys think about the statement that we're moving into a place now that because people's hands have been forced into the video realm, like they have to dip their toe in now, is it going to become this really competitive market of whoever can do video better will win?
I mean, I suppose I could think about my answer first, but what wants to come out of my mouth is I feel like that's what we've been saying for the last 18 to 24 months.
Yeah.
Right. I think Justin, you said it first. I think we were giving a presentation somewhere, and you just kind of like ad-libbed, and then it became a talking point. But 2 years from now, everybody's going to be using video. Do you want to be starting to use video then, or do you want to have 2 years of experience when you get to that point? And so now, a lot
of people now we're at that point.
And so I hear that question is from Ryan, from what you're saying, that's kind of what I'm hearing, except we just have this hand forced moment. So I totally think that it's going to get more competitive. The people who are the companies that are going to find a way to utilize video better. I have thought this for a long time, and now I just think that it's, on average, maybe the timeline is the same, because there's what's happening right now and the economic slowdown associated with it. And so it's going to take some time for businesses to ramp back up and get back to where they were. But it's the ones who spend this time getting better at it
instead of avoiding
it. But I don't think that's too profound a thought. I think that just like the companies that are still hiring right now because they can. Those are the companies that are going to come out of all of this better off, because they were able to invest at a time where a lot of other people were just contracting, freezing, whatever. Don't stand still, and maybe don't move in the same direction, but at least move a direction. And this is certainly a direction that's in front of them. So my gut is yes, it absolutely will come down to whoever can. It's going to be more competitive. You're just going to have to be better at and on video.
Ryan, I know you can't give away all of your secrets right now. We wouldn't, obviously just don't have enough time either, but what are some things that our listeners can do as they're starting to embark on more video, whether it's, one-to-many, one-to-one, or one-on-one? What can they do to be better on video?
Start recording yourself and practice and watch yourself, and don't be afraid to do that. And push yourself to jump off the ledge, because that doesn't mean recording yourself and watching it. It means doing the hard work, which is sharing it, which is a whole other world. You can practice and film and, be on Zoom by yourself and practice and talk or whatever you want to do. But by giving your video, your presence to an audience, even if it's one person, that's the muscle that people need to get used to. And it's a big, broad one, So I would just say, here's a plug. I love Loom more than anything. Use loom.com. They are not paying me. I love it. And I think starting with one person to make videos for one person at a time, there's no harm in that. So understand what it feels like to record yourself and then be seen by someone, and keep doing that and find what your style is.
That sharing is important, because you're going to hate yourself the first couple times you watch whatever, even if you're pretty good at it, you're going to hate different things about it. But most people don't give a shit. They just want effective communication.
Well, and most people see that from you all the time anyway.
Yeah.
Right? And so they're used to how you talk, how you communicate, and whatever. You're just not so used to watching and listening to yourself communicate that way.
The sharing, people may not give direct feedback, but the ways in which they respond is a form of feedback. Do you get a better response to a cold email because you sent a video and you were yourself and you were just having fun and it was a person-to-person kind of thing? Does your manager or does a client treat you better because they're seeing those weekly updates with videos in them? Do they respond to you faster? All that, by sharing it, that is feedback that you have to consider.
Yeah, when we started doing Press Play and VMU, I heard from people I haven't heard from in years that I wouldn't expect would have ever seen any of it. But because Like
Your
I was
mom
sharing
shared.
them on my Facebook page
Yeah.
or something like that. Like, I would go home for Christmas and my uncle, who I haven't talked to since the previous Christmas, would be like, I love your videos. I have no idea what you're talking about, but that is huge confidence. I mean, that gives you that sense of, and even if it's like a comment or a like or, or anything, or like that first response we get from a new client when we send them a weekly update.
These are great.
Almost all the time is like, oh my God, these are great. Thanks so
Yeah.
much. We're psyched to be working with you guys. Whatever. Like,
Yeah.
there's value in that for the next time you hit record.
And just to point out, Ben, that's really, 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 really important. And I'm really glad you said that. When people who are not used to doing this kind of walk into the unknown, like they don't know what they're looking for. They're just like, okay, I got to do video, whatever that means. And they put themselves out there. People might be thinking like, oh man, I hope I get some views. I hope someone likes this. Maybe maybe someone will like leave a comment. I think we've been trained to want these social metrics, which mean jack shit anyway. What really matters, and this has happened to me, which is why I'm saying this, is that like I get insecure all the time when I'm making video. I've just done it enough where I know it's worth it. And I have I get cold feet all the time. But there's this thing that happens where I won't hear back from anyone. I won't get a like or anything, and I'm like, oh my God, I suck, I'm terrible, and I just, beat myself up. But then you get that one or two people in the real world who walk by you or you see them and they're like, dude, your video was awesome. And that real world view, that real world comment, that is what keeps me going. And that is, because that's what matters. Like video is about getting it to be offline. Like we don't want to live inside of the internet forever. We want to, have a real connection. So I think what you're saying is its own metric that's not recorded in like a database or a dashboard. Like it's just real interaction.
Interesting.
I like that thought. I know we've got to wrap up here. What you said? Just practice, do it, record it, watch it, share it. What else? Like, are there any like easy things you can do, like posture or tone or whatever, to make better communication through video?
Yeah,
forget about lighting, cameras, all that kind of stuff. I'm talking like what can performance wise.
I think one thing I like to say is that I call the camera the great speed bump. The camera slows everything down. So if you're trying to, captivate someone or give them your focus and get their attention, like you need to bring your energy up a lot. And I often say you've got to be at an 11 out of 10, which, don't look at a camera and talk to it like you're having a cup of coffee with someone. Yeah. Talk to it like that person is 20 feet away and they're falling asleep and you've got 10 seconds. Like practice upping your energy because that's what it needs to be on. Like, and you've got to learn what does it take to be on when the camera's on, because those are the moments that matter, because someone is going to watch your video in their own moment and what you do in your moment has got to translate. And if you half-ass it or if you come in just kind of average, great, because you're putting it out there, but you need to kind of build that muscle, pushing yourself to be an 11 out of 10.
Especially as video communication is going to start ramping up like crazy, you've got to stand out. You can't be like a grumpy Gus or anything. Right. You've got to be authentically yourself, but bringing that energy is gonna mean that much more too.
Oh yeah, and it's great practice for anybody.
Well, I know you've got a lot of great content you share on LinkedIn. What can people do to learn more about BetterOn? www.betteron.video. Yes, the website is what we do. And if you are a leader or a manager or a team and you want to get your people better on camera for all the reasons we just talked about, reach out. We work all over the country, ideally all over the world. We're going to
We're doing a lot more remote work right now because of the situation we're in. So yeah, reach out. We'd love to talk to anybody who kind of gets what it is we're talking about here.
Awesome. Well, that is Ryan Carey, a good friend of ours, just down the road. Also, you have offices in New York as well, right?
Yeah, we got a studio in New York, and I have a studio here in Durham.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to seeing you once again. Hopefully, we'll get to hug and shake hands and maybe nuzzle a little bit when the time is right.
Bring it on.
Good.
Well, yeah, you just have to have Mayor Schul tell you when that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. We didn't get to anything that we wrote down on our outline, but I think this is really, really valuable. So I appreciate you taking some time and sharing your thoughts.
Anytime, guys. I really appreciate it.
All right, cool.
Thank you so much.
All right, guys, take it easy.
Take care.
All right.
Well, that was fun.
Yeah, that was a great conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a better conversation than if we had stuck to our outline.
Yeah.
Even.
Yeah. About 10 minutes in, I'm like, this is going in different places. That is a great direction.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think so many people are looking for a sense of direction and a sense of maybe a new normalcy right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like some of the panic is starting to subside, right? Like, people get that this is the new normal.
Mm-hmm.
Companies are continuing to operate.
Mm-hmm.
Workers are continuing to work from home. Again, those who are lucky enough to have jobs where they can work from home. But I think still a lot of people just don't know what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I think, just from a mental standpoint, that's positive to think about.
What?
Right. Just what's it going to be like in 2 or 3 months? Because it's probably going to be better in 2 or 3 months than worse in 2 or 3 months. And maybe it's 4 months, maybe it's 5 months. But like, I think it's good for people's mental health to think about what is the light at the end of this tunnel.
What's on the other side of this thing?
And we can look at everything that's happening right now, and at least for me, and maybe this is just kind of a human nature thing, where we are now, in terms of behaviors and how we're doing our jobs now, as opposed to a month ago, is probably closer to how we'll be doing our jobs for the next 10 years than what we were doing a month ago.
Yeah.
And so, find the things that you like about this new reality.
Dig in, lean into that.
Lean in. Yeah. Take this time to get better on camera, right? Take this time to... You've got tons of opportunities right now with, Google Hangouts and Zoom and all that kind of other stuff you're doing. Why not spend some time between those meetings recording yourself and watching yourself?
Sure.
Because if you've got a meeting with 20 people in it that's virtual right now, well, the people who are actually spending a little bit of time, curating their video presence are probably going to stand out in those meetings too. Mm-hmm. So you may be better suited for that next promotion or, whatever it is, because you're investing time in yourself to be better in those video conversations.
I forget who said it. I heard somebody else say it, referencing them or whatever, but I think it was an economist. All profit comes from risk.
That's Dr. Seuss.
Okay. You have to step out on that ledge, and once you do, you'll see that it's really not that far of a drop. And when you do step off that ledge, you're gonna probably rise above instead of fall. Wow, that felt really good. Felt like a thing. Yeah, that's my new thing.
Yeah, Dr. Seuss. Just make it rhyme.
Yeah.
And then you can attribute it to Dr. Seuss.
So take that, like you said, a lot of people are at home, kind of trying to figure out how to fill in the gaps between meetings or whatever. Take that risk now and build that skill, and you will come out of this thing way better off and way more prepared for the future. This is just a different experience than what you may put on your Instagram stories or TikTok, because that's
definitely.
I mean, that's a whole that's like, you're not really communicating. It's all mimetic, a lot of those like TikTok challenges and themes and stuff.
Mimetic, you say, huh?
Like me, it's all memes. That's what I wanted to go for. Mimetic. Study of information and culture based on an analogy.
It's memetics.
Oh.
Of or pertaining to memes, pertaining to replication of concepts.
Yeah.
Memetic.
Yeah.
MEMETIC. Memetic.
This is about actually getting the person on the other end of this video to change. And this is like, if you can be a change agent, if you can get them going from, I don't care about you, to, oh, that is an interesting problem that you guys solve. Mm-hmm. Like that, the ability to change somebody and be that change agent is going to give you new opportunities in life.
Yeah.
And this is a great time to practice that.
Well, thanks again to Ryan Carey. Mm-hmm. Thanks again to Topo Chico to be our first returning sponsor.
I may ask for a refund.
There we go.
That's on the ground.
That's a good one. No, we can just fix it in post.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be there the whole time.
Okay, good.
All right, and the usual.
Thanks for checking us out.
Thanks for checking us out. Do the whole subscribe, rating, liking, commenting, sharing, all that kind of stuff that I think are contractually obligated to ask people to do, because it doesn't feel very authentic.
I just signed
everybody
it. Everybody
just does it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's this episode of the Video Reformation Podcast. We will see you or speak to you next time.
We did it.
We did it.
Hey.
All right, everybody, gas mask back on. Should we do a promo?
Yeah, we could. I felt like there was something that you were saying right after Ryan got off that I was like, oh, that could be a good promo. So we can be
Oh, there's your promo.
Just use that exact clip. Say there's something that Ben said earlier that was a really good promo.
Which part?
Right after Ryan got off, I can't remember what it was. But it felt like a good summary, but also like referencing Ryan being there, which I think is a little bit of a teaser.
Okay.